Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Bank Holiday Monday. I hope you are having a lovely Easter weekend and you've, I don't think you can really say forgot about what happened on Saturday night, because I don't think any of us have done, have we? I think that performance and the manner of that defeat is going to stick with us for a while, certainly until Thursday night anyway. But I hope you've begun to put it to bed a little bit and have enjoyed yourself in the days that have followed Saturday night. Anyway, it is the start of a fresh week, and this is a huge week for Arsenal, for Mikel Arteta after what happened on Saturday. One that they absolutely have to get right. They need to respond after that defeat on Saturday night and the manner of that defeat on Saturday night. They need to put it right, and they've certainly got the best chance possible this weekend with a Europa League quarter-final first leg coming up. Mikel spoke about that after the game on Saturday night, talking about how everyone needed to respond in the right way and show that Saturday night was just a blip. And they certainly need to, because they put in a performance like they did on Saturday night against Slavia Prague on Thursday, and their Europa League campaign and dreams for another season could well be over, because Slavia Prague are no mugs. Yes, they're not one of the biggest names in European football, but we've seen what they've done already this season, the way they knocked out Leicester, beat them pretty comfortably at the King Power Stadium. They knocked out Rangers. They've gone toe-to-toe with the likes of Barcelona in the last couple of years in the Champions League as well, and really caused them some problems. So they are no mugs, and they will be difficult opponents on Thursday night. And if Arsenal play like they did against Liverpool on Saturday, they will get beaten. There's no doubt about that. I think if Arsenal played like they did against Liverpool, against the League Two side, they'd probably get beaten, to be honest. It's not that hard because they were so bad, but they're going to have to take their level up a big notch. And for Mikel Arteta, it is a very big week. Once again, the eyes are focused on him. There's question marks about where Arsenal are under him, as is away after defeat. I mean, we all, defeats get dissected non-stop nowadays, and I think it was more the manner of the defeat, the manner of the performance, the fact that Arsenal just were so absolutely bereft of any ideas or any quality or what their plan was in that game. That's why a lot of people are focusing on Mikel Arteta again now and saying, look, where are you? Where is the progress being made? Arsenal are ninth in the Premier League. That is certainly not progress. And yeah, if things go wrong in the Europa League now against Slavia Prague, then he is going to finding himself under an awful lot of pressure as we edge towards the end of the season. I will talk a little bit about the Slavia Prague game in terms of team news, early team news on towards the end of this video. We'll be speaking to Mikel on Wednesday, probably Wednesday afternoon, I would say, or maybe late morning. We haven't had the exact time of the press conference put through yet, but it'll be Mikel Arteta and a player, which is always the way ahead at European games, so keep an eye out. As soon as that press conference is over and I've done my work, I will pop on here and discuss what Mikel had to say. It should certainly be an interesting one. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of topics discussed in that match, in that press conference, and we'll be hearing the very latest then from the team news, but I will give a little update at the end of this video anyway. But before that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Gabriel Martinelli. Now, we've seen him start to get a little bit more game time recently, still only from the bench, still very fleeting minutes. He came on for about the last 10 last weekend against Liverpool, again for Aubameyang, and I think the time is right now for Gabby to get a bit of a go. I think he's deserved it. He's sat on the bench, he's not kicked up a fuss. You haven't heard his moaning, you haven't seen his agent planting stories about how disappointed he is at his lack of game time. But I think we've got to give Gabriel Martinelli a bit of an opportunity over the coming weeks. Now, certainly if you're going to be playing Aubameyang on the left-hand side, which just I don't understand. And I'm quite a supporter of Mikel Arteta. I still think that he can do some pretty good things at Arsenal, given the time and given the backing that he needs in the summer. But I don't understand his decision to go back to playing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on the left. I thought he'd moved away from that and sort of settled on, look, he's either playing as a central striker or he's not going to play. So you either rotate Laka and Auba, and then you have someone else playing on the left, but don't play Auba on the left. It just doesn't really work. It's not worked all season. Yes, it did last year. Arsenal had success out of it, but it hasn't worked this season. And to continue doing it, I just don't really understand it. And then to go back to it when he seemingly had moved away from it again, and then you see the results, awful against West Ham, Aubameyang absolutely awful against Liverpool as well. And it's not really his fault. I know he's getting a lot of grief, but he spent a game against Liverpool tracking Andy Robertson. It was almost playing as a right wing back role, a left wing back role, and that's not what Trent, not Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that's just not what he is. He's not. He's a forward. He's not a left back, and he was almost playing in that position at times at the weekend. So I'm not going to really sit here and absolutely destroy Auba for his performance. He's just not playing in the right position. Certainly to get the best out of him. I mean, you look at Liverpool's defence, how high those centre-backs were. They're not exactly the quickest. Surely, if you're going to play Aubameyang, you play him up front. You don't play him on the left. So I thought that was a really strange move by Mikel Arteta, and especially when you got someone like Gabriel Martinelli sitting on the bench. Because I think as soon as you saw Gabby come on, at least he brings a lot more energy down that side. I mean, Aubameyang, he looks a little bit disinterested. There's no denying that. His body language isn't great. You've seen the last couple of times he's been substituted, how annoyed he's looked as he's walked off the pitch. He's clearly not enjoying his football that much at the moment. There's quite a few things going on with Aubrey. He's had a tough few months, and now he's finding himself back playing out on the left-hand side, feeding on scraps. So I think when you've got a player like Gabby who's sat there and he's waited patiently for his opportunity when he can play in that role, he can also play as a central striker, obviously. I just feel like you've got to give him a chance. You've got to throw him out there and give him some minutes. If not, what's the point of having him in the squad? And he's a very talented player. Arsenal say they absolutely believe in him. All the word we get from Arsenal at the moment is that, look, don't worry about Gabby. He is part of our plans. He's going to be. He's a long-term part of this club. It's not that he's fallen out with Arteta or anything like that. But if that's the case, and there's no reason for us not to believe that, then play him, give him some minutes, give him more than just 10 minutes here or there off the substitutes bench. I mean, he's earned it. He's been very, very patient. Give him an opportunity. So I would absolutely, if say Smith Rowe isn't fit at the weekend on Thursday night, play Gabby, give him a chance, play him on the left hand side if you're going to do that, and leave Aubameyang on a bench, or play Aubameyang as a central striker. Don't play Aubameyang on the left. It just feels like Gabby has earned his chance now, and his chance should be coming this Thursday night for me. He's a talent, we know that. He can score goals, he causes teams problems, he's fantastic in the press. And he just needs minutes. What's the point of sitting him on the bench all the time? And he's only going to get absolutely disheartened. And it just makes sense to me. It feels like this is a chance for Gabriel Martinelli now to be given some time to express himself and to show that he can do what Aubameyang hasn't done recently, and that is make a big impact down that left-hand side. Just touching on Aubameyang a little bit more. And kind of what I've just thrown back, what I just said a minute ago, he's been getting an awful lot of grief. I mean, I looked through some of the websites this morning before I came on and did this video, and there's so many people criticising him, pundits, fans, for his performances. And I do understand that. He's clearly not been good enough the last couple of games. But then we do have to take into account where he's playing, and I just don't feel you're getting the best out of him. It's a strange one from Mikel, and, as I said, I'm quite a big supporter of Mikel Arteta, and I do think Arsenal can get to a good place under him, provided he gets the backing that he needs in the summer and things like that. But he has made some strange decisions recently that I don't really understand. Even Callum Chambers on Saturday night, and I know Callum played very, very well against West Ham, and on one hand you think you've got to reward a good performance by keeping him in the team, but Callum Chambers isn't a right back for me. He's not got the pace to be a right back. He's a centre back, and you play him on the right, and you just get taken away an awful lot of your attacking intent there, because he's just not got too much in the overlap. He's not going to cause Liverpool too many problems on Saturday, for example. They're not going to be worried too much about him bombing forward and overlapping, and that's going to allow them to just sit deeper and deeper onto Arsenal and not let Arsenal out of their own half. And it just didn't really understand that, especially when you got Cedric and you got Bellerin on the bench. Fair play if you want to move on from Bellerin, and it looks like he kind of does at the moment with the decisions that he's making. And Bellerin could well be leaving in the summer. Then play Cedric on the right. Don't play Callum Chambers at right back. It just felt a little bit odd to me. I've said what I've said about Aubameyang on the left hand side. It just feels counterproductive to me. It feels like we'd moved away from that particular experiment. It clearly hadn't been working. It hadn't been getting the best out of Aubameyang. You move you back to the central striker role. He starts to score goals again, and then suddenly you're playing out on the left. I don't know. Alexander Lacazette played well against West Ham, so I'm not having a go at Laka starting the game against Liverpool. It's fair enough. But if Laka's going to start, then leave Aubameyang on the bench. Don't just squeeze him into the team on the left-hand side. Again, and go back to that scenario. It didn't work earlier on in the season. That's when the results started to get really, really poor, and we saw the sort of type of performances that we saw on Saturday night, especially when Smith Rowe and Saka weren't in the team. I just thought it was quite an odd decision from Mikel Arteta looking at when it came to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at the weekend. Okay, so big news out of Arsenal injury-wise. We still haven't heard about Kieran Tierney yet. Arsenal keeping pretty tight lips on the extent of Tierney's issue at the moment with that knee injury picked up against Liverpool. What we have heard about David Luiz, he has undergone an operation, and whether he plays again this season, whether again he plays for Arsenal, remains to be seen. This is what Arsenal had to say in a statement. They said David Luiz underwent a small procedure on his right knee on Sunday morning. The procedure has been a success, and David is now back at home rehabilitating. He'll be able to return to daily support and recovery with our medical team at the training centre in the coming days. David is expected to be back to full fitness and available for selection in the upcoming weeks. Now, we've got about 6 weeks left of the season now at Arsenal, so they don't put a time frame on it. They just say upcoming weeks. You think if he's back training and available again in 3 or 4 weeks, maybe there's a few games left of the season, depending on if Arsenal have progressed in the Europa League or not. So certainly you would say that David Luiz's season is certainly in doubt now, and then when you think that his contract is up at the end of this season, then his Arsenal future is in doubt now. Will he play again in the red and white? Will he get a new contract at Arsenal? I think that's one certainly is going to be decided in the summer. Mikel Arteta has spoken about that plenty of times. At the moment, it's not something Arsenal are going to sit down with David Luiz and discuss now, or any of their players like Lacazette. Now its contract situations are on hold until the end of the season. But you do wonder about David Luiz. I've said it before. I think Mikel probably wouldn't mind keeping him for another year. I think his performances have been pretty decent. I know he gets a lot of grief. I actually don't think he's been that bad a signing for £8 million over a couple of years. I'm not sure Arsenal would have won the FA Cup without David Luiz last season, given his performances, certainly in the semi-final and the final. I thought he's done pretty well this season as well. At times, yes, there's been some errors that have led to goals. Can't skirt over those. We've seen them plenty of times. But on the whole, I think he's been a decent enough option for Arsenal. Certainly for £8 million, they obviously paid a lot of money for him in wages, but I'm not sure about giving him a new deal. I can't see Luiz would want a 1 year deal. Still think he thinks he's got plenty of time left in football. There'll be clubs around Europe, potentially someone like Benfica, where he's never hidden his desire to go back to, who might be offering him 2 year contracts. I don't think Arsenal would offer him a 2 year deal. I think they might offer him 1 year deal, and I think Luiz would probably look at his career and look at stability for his family and that sort of thing, and potentially look for a longer term deal somewhere else. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the last of Luiz in an Arsenal shirt, but we'll wait and see. You never know. He might be back in a couple of weeks. The wonders of medical science nowadays, and he might still have a big part to play. And if he does, then you'd expect he would have a big part to play, because he was certainly he was a nailed-on starter pretty much in the centre-back positions. Now he's certainly forced his way back into Mikel Arteta's thinking. So Arteta will certainly be disappointed with the news about David Luiz. There's no doubt about that. We'll have to just wait and see now if he does play for Arsenal again. Right, let's talk about Matteo Guendouzi. He's having a good time of it now in Germany. He was stuttering a little bit. It looked like it was going to be a pretty unsuccessful loan spell at Hertha Berlin, but he's forced his way back into the side now and is playing pretty well. I think he won a penalty at the weekend. Seems to be making an impact. Scored for France under-21s as well during the recent international break. He's coming from some praise from the sporting director at Hertha, which is Arne Frederick. He says, when you talk about Guendouzi and see his skills, you realise that he's a great player. This is while he was speaking to The Guardian. He continued, I've also read that he had problems at Arsenal, but he behaves very well here. He puts himself on the field. He's a great professional. Guendouzi's situation confirms that we must always understand how to help the players. With a talent like him, he is worth it. I'm not sure if that's a little dig there, but potentially how he's been managed at Arsenal. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into that. But yeah, Guendouzi's situation is certainly going to be an interesting one during the summer. Can Arsenal and Arteta build a bridge with Matteo Guendouzi? Do they want to? He's only got a year left in his contract. That is going to certainly complicate the situation. Would Guendouzi want to stay and sign a new contract and play under Mikel Arteta, given what has gone on? And I think if he doesn't want to sign a new contract, then there's no way Arsenal are going to keep him, because they'll lose him on a free transfer in a year's time. So that will force their hand in terms of whether they want to sell. And I've said it a fair few times on that, I would predict that Arsenal are probably going to try and do all they can to sell Matteo Guendouzi in the summer. They'll actually be quite happy that his performances have gone up a little level as we got towards the end of the season, because that will help with the price tag they might be able to command. I know plenty of you at the moment are saying, we should get him back and keep him. I just wonder if that situation has gone a little bit too far down the road now for Arsenal to pull it back and for Guendouzi to stay and sign a new contract, because I think when we talk about Guendouzi, that contract is the key thing. He's only got a year left. So what do? You can't keep him just for another year and then let him go on a free. I think you've got to look to sell him on and potentially get a decent sell-on fee included in that contract as well for someone so young, who clearly is a very, very talented player. Okay, before we go, just a little bit of early team news. We'll go through what we know so far ahead of that game against Prague on Thursday night. Like I said, we'll be speaking to Mikel on Wednesday, where we should know more. Arsenal will probably put out an update as well before that press conference. But in terms of Tierney, like I said earlier in this video, we're still waiting to find out the extent of that knee injury that he picked up against Liverpool. Everyone's sitting there with fingers crossed, hoping it's not going to be the sort of bad news we were all fearing, given the way he walked off and how disappointed and sad he looked at that injury he picked up against Liverpool in that challenge with James Milner. Bukayo Saka, hopefully he will be okay for Thursday night. He has been back training. He was training before the Liverpool game. Arsenal obviously decided to err on the side of caution with Saka and give him a little bit of time to continue to build back to full fitness after that hamstring injury. But you would expect, hopefully, that he will be okay for Thursday night. Smith Rowe, haven't seen him in training, so he's looking a little bit more doubtful for Thursday night. He's still struggling with that hip injury he picked up while away with England under-21s. Granit Xhaka missed the game against Liverpool. You'd expect Xhaka is going to come back into contention on Thursday night. He was only ill, so he wasn't having an injury. So unless he's got a real particularly bad illness, which obviously, touch wood, we hope he hasn't, then if it was just a flu or a cold or something like that, then you would expect Granit Xhaka will be okay, and that'll be very, very important, because I think we all saw how much Arsenal miss Granit Xhaka. And then obviously David Luiz, he will be out on Thursday night with that knee injury that he has now undergone operation to fix. Right, everyone, that's about it from me. Thank you for watching today's videos. Please do, wherever you're watching this, enjoy your bank holiday Monday around the world. I hope you have had a very good Easter for those who have been celebrating it, and I shall speak to you very, very soon. Have a good day, everyone.